Well, it's been an interesting couple of weeks in the RPG space. The OGL 1.1 leaks, the deafening silence from Wizards, and the community as a whole coming together to tell Wizards what they thought. I'm Tristan. This is Heroes in Homebrew. So, unless you've been living under a rock, you may have heard about the OGL 1.1 leaks, where Wizards of the Coast was asking for royalties on projects that earned more than 750,000. That's not profit either. That's gross. To disclose financial statements over $50,000, and basically nullifying OGL 1.0A. Now, whether you know it or not, a lot of the games you're playing, whether or not you're playing D&D, rely on that open game license. So this caused a huge problem. Not to mention the fact that Wizards was silent on the whole thing. Even during the outrage, the best they could do is publish a statement on the 21st of December that didn't really answer many questions. And then when the OGL 1.1 leaked completely, they stayed silent even as the community blew up. It wasn't until it was discovered that they are only listening to what's happening to their bottom line, not the community, that they decided to say something. Now, the nice thing about all of this, the silver lining, if you were, is that everyone, regardless of the games they played, came together to voice their concerns about this. The disappointing thing is that a lot of people, maybe if they enjoyed playing D&D 5e, that it soured the taste in their mouths. So there might be people who are just leaving the game altogether or looking for something else. Now, what I'm going to say might be a little controversial, but just because you don't like what Wizards is doing, where they're going, or what their stance is or how they responded to all this, doesn't mean you have to stop playing the game you love. You can still play with all the materials you have, and Wizards of the Coast can't take that away from you. But if you are in a position where you just don't want to play anything done by them at all, there's lots of games out there for you to play. Recently, one of the things that I've seen is people complaining specifically about the OSR and that there's lots of gatekeeping and it's not very inclusive. And I'm sure that is true in some senses. There's always people, regardless of the game, that are going to gatekeep it and are sort of bad faith actors. But I'm going to ask anyone who's, maybe wants to move on, wants to try something else, is to do it. Find the people who are going to let you into their game. I know the OSR RPG group on Facebook is incredibly inclusive, welcomes new players, and would happily play with new players who are looking for something different. Another complaint is maybe that the play style is not what you enjoy from D&D, but the thing with a lot of role-playing games is that it can be any play style you want. If you're an experienced dungeon master in 5e, there's no reason why you can't bring your style of being a game master to any other game. Maybe the mechanics don't facilitate it as easily, but it's always available to you. Just because you're playing an OSR game that largely focuses on dungeon crawling and sort of hex crawling, style of play, doesn't mean that you can't bring your narrative style to that game. And on the other side, for people who have been playing other games, whether it's OSR or Numenera or Fantasy Age or Pathfinder or whatever, welcome all these players into your game. welcome anybody who's got that bad taste in their mouth from WotC, from anyone who's thinking, oh, well, there's nothing else out there for me because I don't have an in. Find those players and find anyone who wants to get out and bring them into your game. Welcome them with open arms. They might not enjoy that particular game style, but at least they know that there's a welcoming community out there for them to, pick up something new. And like I said, there's no reason why you can't keep playing all the materials you have for Dungeons and Dragons without, giving more to WotC if that's not what you want. On the other side of it, I've seen lots of people online who, didn't really bother them what WotC was doing. Changing the OGL, whether consciously or not, they felt that it didn't affect them, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe if you're only playing, WotC published stuff, maybe a change to the OGL doesn't affect you at all. And if you want to continue playing that and continue with D&D Beyond and move on to 1D&D, then go for it. Why not? I don't think anyone should be forced to stop doing the things that they love just because a corporation has shown its true face. After all, WotC and Hasbro are corporations, and they have a bottom line. They have stakeholders that they have to please, and they've made it very clear that the community is not their number one priority. Their number one priority is to make money and keep themselves in business. And I don't think, in the end of the day, largely most people are not going to, blame them for wanting to make money. It's just the way they went about it and how they're planning on doing it, I think, put a sour taste in a lot of people's mouths. But the matter of fact is, the show from the community of shutting down your D&D Beyond subscriptions and being very vocal about what you think and what you want shows that as a community, if we come together, we can make change. Now we have Paizo and Green Ronin creating their own OGL that's going to be held by a nonprofit organization, and that's an excellent first step. MCDM and Kobold Press are creating their own systems, and I, for one, even though maybe the style of play from Dungeons and Dragons is not what I want, I'm interested to see what their systems are going to look like, and I'll probably buy their main book just to see it. I'll probably try it out. Why not? I know for my part, because of what's happened, a lot of companies have put things for sale on DriveThruRPG, and I took advantage of that, and I picked up a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have looked at otherwise. So all of this, there is a silver lining to all of the bad that happened, and I think most people, anyone who's sort of disillusioned by it, should take advantage of that. Take advantage of the sales to explore games that you might not have explored otherwise. Dungeon masters who have groups who are not playing D&D, ask D&D players if they want to try out the system that you're running. D&D players, don't be afraid to join other groups if you want to try something new. I think, hopefully, this whole debacle is going to create some new creativity in the space. It might fracture it a bit more, but ultimately I hope that even though it might be fractured into smaller groups of gamers playing different games, maybe it can bring a lot of people together more, and more people are playing different games together instead of it always being this camp or that camp or that camp and everyone's separated. Just, you can mix and play and create for different games. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with staying with one system if that's what you love to play. Overall, my thoughts are, invite people into your game. Don't be afraid to try out new games if your taste is soured because of all of this. Don't step away from the hobby. The hobby is more than one company, and it's a group of people who are largely will be happy to play with you if you ask them to. So that being said, if you're interested to try the OSR, come to the OSR RPG group on Facebook. I know I've spent a lot of time there, and I know they'd be happy to welcome anybody who wants to try it out. And you don't have to only play OSR. That's not what it's about. So I hope a lot of this, maybe this helped out. Maybe this gave a little bit of positivity to people in this weird time of uncertainty. And hopefully you'll like and subscribe. Maybe in the comments, tell me what games you're interested in trying out if you've maybe decided you don't want to play D&D anymore. Maybe invite people to your game. Anyway, that's it for me. Save a seat for me at your table.